guys. Oh God, you can't see my face. Hang on. Hey, is that it? God, all you can see is my big camera. Let me move it. God, oh dear. Right, hang on. I'm going to try not to lose you. Have I lost you? I have no idea. There's such a delay between everything. I think you can see everything okay. Oh, no, I've lost the camera. Hang on. God, I have been on like 2 seconds and already something's gone wrong, for goodness sake. Yeah, camera error. Right, let me turn that off. God damn it. And I didn't bring my pad to do the reference. Never mind, I'll get over it. We'll work around it. Bye-bye. I'm going to try and start the camera. While the camera's starting up, if you want to join in on the tutorial, the link to the reference photo is in the bio. No, in the description. I don't know how easy you can access the description. So I'll tell you what, I shall put it in the chat as well. Link to today's reference. Oh, why won't it let me link? Wow, it's going well today. There we go. So the link is now in the comments, but it's also, as I say, pinned in the description. So if you want to have a go, then please feel free to go and get the reference photo. But I'm going to show you how to draw it from rough shapes anyway. We're not looking for super hyper realistic today. We're going to do something a bit looser, a bit like my hummingbird. I don't know if you remember that. And are we connecting? Are we connecting? Are we going to go, hi Evie? Oh my God, I can't believe this. It says it's active. Oh my God. No, really sorry guys. Give me another try. Hi Joanne. So if you are going to join in, you need a watercolour medium of your choice. It doesn't even have to be watercolour. You can do it in acrylic. You can do it in pencil if you want, but really the tips and details that I'm going to be going through today are going to be based around a watercolour medium. So ideally, like today I'm using Inktense, but you can use watercolour pencils, acrylics, watercolour pans, you can use the tubes. And we're back. Yay! Hi! What else? You'll need paintbrushes, water, and some sort of paper, watercolour paper, or mixed media paper. It doesn't matter. Or if you just want to sketch along to get the basic bird shape, then feel free to just sketch along. Just get an old notebook, a pen, a paper, pencil. Can't talk today for toffee. And I forgot to put my phone on silent, so that's really handy. So that's where we're at the minute. Sorry. So is anybody going to join in today? Give me a thumbs up if you're going to have a go. Even if it's just sketching, it doesn't have to be the full-blown tutorial. I need some water. It's all going wrong. Hi, Jennifer. That'll be fun. That'll be good to do it on there. Okay, let me get my paintbrushes. Okay, so if you're going to be doing it via watercolour, what I want you to do is grab a mid to light watercolour pencil. Now, the wonderful Jennifer Halliday, who's just said, hey everyone, was really, really naughty. Really naughty. I'll tell you why she's naughty. And Jennifer, I have actually made two videos on these pencils, so keep an eye out for them. Okay, you ready for this? So, oh, and don't wipe on my account, please, young lady. So I didn't think I would be able to afford these and also justify them, because I didn't use them particularly too much, but I do use a set amount of colours, like in every portrait I ever do. And the sneaky little so-and-so spoke to Angela at Paper Story. So I have got a review video coming out on this, so I'm not going to say too much. And she brought me these because she's blooming lovely, and she's an angel, and she's a sweetheart, and she just did one of the random acts of kindness which blew me away. I cried when I opened the box because I knew who it was from, as in the company it was from, but I didn't order it. So I was like, huh, where'd that come from? And yeah, little sneaky Jennifer. My door's open. If you hear some random screaming noises, the foxes are playing in the woodland out the back, so they're really loud. So Jennifer, mwah, thank you. And there was an offer on in the Inktense at the same time. So that's what we're doing today. You don't have to use Inktense. You can use watercolour. You can use watercolour pencils, watercolour markers. Really doesn't matter, as long as it's a water-based medium, because the tips and the techniques I'm going to be going through are based around watercolour or water activated medium. So today I am using the Inktense because I want to have a go at them. And with Jennifer getting them for me, I thought it was nice for her to see these in use. I've lost chat. I don't know if anybody's saying anything. If you are, I apologise. So I've got 12 colours in here, and they're all rather lush. Oh, hang on, focus. They're all rather lush. The blocks came with a scrawler box. And there's some block colours that I don't have in the pencils, which is why I've brought the both in. Because I thought it might be nice to use both. But there's some colours in here that aren't in the pencils and colours in the pencils that aren't in the blocks. But these came with a scrawler box. So if you want to see these in action, head to my scrawler box playlist because it's in there. But that's what we're going to use today. I'm going to be using my Spectrum Noir watercolour pad because it's really lovely stuff. It's quite a bright white and it doesn't have a huge amount of texture. So when I come to scanning my artwork, it makes it much cleaner, easier to clean up. Hey, oh wow, thank you. Did you enjoy that? It's quite a good one, isn't it? I actually have a skin tutorial coming out on how to do all 6 skin tones with just the 12 set of pencils, so keep your eye on that because that comes out next week. And I've also done a tutorial on how to use the new luminance to come up with 8 types of skin tones, so keep your eye out. So if you're using a watercolour medium, get a fairly light pencil. So in my instance, I think I'm going to use orange. I am going to sharpen it for the sketch. So this is called Tangerine. And the reason why is if you have I covered the subject? Oh, blooming hell. I don't know now. I can't remember. If you use a watercolour medium to do your sketch lines, when you come to then add your colour, you can blend it out. So unlike using graphite underneath, which when you put watercolour can make your watercolour muddy and it spreads the graphite around and you can still see your sketch lines underneath. Now some people don't mind that and I don't mind it all that often either. But if you don't want sketch lines underneath and you want something that will disappear as you work over your subject, use a lighter version of your subject, or in my case I'm going to use this tangerine colour. Use something light enough that it will disappear easily underwater, but don't have it too light that you lose it quickly and then you can't work out what you've been doing. So yeah, I had quite a lot of requests about whether or not the skin tones can be done in the lesser sized packs, and to be honest, I didn't think it could. So I gave myself a bloody big pat on the back because I was like, hang on a minute, I've managed to do it. And I've managed to match to the 160 palette with just the 12 colours. So I was really pleased, really pleased. Okay. I Hi Vicky, if you want to join in, darling, just grab yourself some watercolour medium, a watercolour paper, or you can just do it in pencil and sketch along. It really doesn't matter, but I'm going to show you. Well, you need the picture, don't you? You need the reference. That would be helpful. So let me put the reference up on the screen. This is the reference. It's going to be massive, by the way, when I put it on the screen. So give me a sec. So this is the birdie. Wonder if I can put it down there. Oh, no. Let's put it there. Then it's out of the way. Okay, so that's the bird that we're going to be drawing up there. And I'm going to show you how we can do that from basic shapes. So I'm going to get my phone so I can pull the reference picture up as it's not so far away. As I say, you can do it in graphite, you can do it in marker, whatever, it doesn't matter. No, why am I replying to myself? I just want the picture up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is study the shape of the body. So if you look at the shape of the body, we're going to break it down. I should have probably done a printout. So how we're going to do it, he's cute, isn't he? We're going to break it up into shapes. So this little section here is effectively going to be a squished ball. Then we're going to have like a rounded rectangle on the head. And then we're going to have sort of like a triangle in the middle. And then we're going to have the lines coming down. So that's how we're going to break it down. We are literally going to split him up into shapes. They are beautiful. I have done a roller bird before, but it was completely blue. And these are just stunning. So I thought, yeah, let's have a go. And it's nice and bright. So... no, come on, thank you. So, shall I have it that way or that way? I think we're going to go that way. So the first thing I'm going to do is gauge on my page where I want everything. So if I say the bird is roughly, I don't know how well you're going to see because I'll do it quite light, but I think that's probably the rough size of the bird. Let me turn that down, see if that helps. So the tail will end down here and the head is up here. And again, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for fun here. The branch, so if the tail's down here, he comes up to his body, which is about here. So the branch we'll say is about here. So we'll just literally sketch the branch in with no more than 2 or 3 lines. That's it. And that's just to work out where everything goes. So the first thing I want to do is start on his body. So his body shape, as I say, is a bit of a squished ball. I'll tell you what, I'll do mine darker just so you can see. I might bring him a bit lower because I have a bit of an error of sometimes putting him a bit too far up the paper. That's a perfect circle. You don't want to draw a perfect circle, Bonita. So let's square that off by squishing the sides in a bit. So we're going to squish those sides in a bit. I'll wash all that out later. Okay. Now his head sort of has a lean, but I'm not going to worry about where his eyes are at the moment. So the next thing I want to do is it sort of goes up and then around. So we want to draw like a rectangle, but with rounded sides. So we're just going to draw a rectangle with rounded sides. And it looks like, Big Hero 6 right now. Looks like Big Hero 6. Hi Rob, if you want to join in, my lovely, just get a pen and paper. Or if you want to properly join in, get yourself some watercolour paper, a watercolour medium, because it's those techniques that I'm going to be talking through today. The reference picture is linked in the top of the comments and it's also linked in the description, but to be honest, I'm trying to teach people how to draw it from a very basic set of shapes. So just join along with me without having to download the reference, up to you. Okay, so if you look now, his wing is sort of like a, I don't even know how you'd describe that shape, but his wing just sort of like a weird rounded triangle. Like that maybe. Then his bottom sort of starts here and comes down into an open top triangle, and then we've got like a little triangle inside. The foxes are at it again, and then we can just do the long rollerbird edge of the feathers. I think that might be a bit too wide, so I'll bring that up. Actually, sounds like I live next to a zoo right now. Okay, so what we can do from here on in, I'm going to do it in a different colour so you can see how I join up the shapes. So I'm going to do it in a green. And I'm doing it, as I say, if you're just joining me now, I'm doing all the undersketching with a watercolour pencil, because although Inktense isn't technically watercolour, it is ink, and it doesn't shift when it's dry, so might have boobed there, but it gives you the idea. I'm going to use green so you can see how I join those lines up to give you a better idea. So, I mean, the tail is pretty much as is. Then we're just going to sweep up to come over where that wing is. And then I'm just going to tuck in, and then we're going to come up to where the side of his head is. So you should have this nice sweeping line happening. We're then going to bring that head down, and then it tucks in slightly, and then his body comes out. And then where the branch is, which is about here, his body obviously comes straight over. And the blue comes under, and then that's the bottom of the tail, and then obviously the tail, the feathers. We've got like, where is head? If I can roughly put in, so hold your canvas straight. If you see, his beak is pretty much slap bang in the middle, so we're just going to draw at the same angle, and then his eyes sort of go round like this. That's my technical term, round like this. And I would say that his eye, so let's zoom in, might help, Anita. So you can't actually see much in the way of detail, so draw a triangle at that middle point, and then draw a square at the bottom. So that is roughly the shape of where his beak sits. It's like a house, basic house. It could even be wider than that actually on that side. And then that bit comes up, and then you really can't see any detail. He looks quite angry actually. That bit comes to a bit more of a triangle, so if you have a look, there's a bit of a triangle. And then his eye is sort of very angrily looking just underneath, so that sort of gives you the basis of it. So that's your starting zone as such. So we come down from the head, and he's got like a rounded bit here, which then leads down to his tummy. And then all you need to do is divide your page up where the colours need to go. So if you're doing it exactly like the reference, the lilac stops midway. So we're going to draw that in midway. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a bit less, it looks like he's got a bit more of a lean actually than the reference, but I'm not too bothered about that. So I'm going to bring this side up a touch more, bring his head in and then out. Most pre-sketches should look this messy, because you every time you look back at your reference, you'll see bits that need tweaking. So he's got sort of big bushy hairs there. So I've made him a bit fatter, I think, and he's got a bit more of a lean, but I don't mind it. So the branch sort of is here. It's got a little stumpy bit there. And then we've got a twig that that sticks out there. So that's pretty much the basic shape we're going to go for. I think this branch can actually come in further, sort of like there. And I think that bit of the bum can come down a bit further too, like so. So I'm just splitting up where the individual colours sit. So that's the blue of the underwing. That's the orange that there is on the outside of the wing. Then you've got the orange on the top of the wing. We've got our violet, we've got our blue, we've got a patch of dark blue in here. Then we've got our greeny colour on the top. We've got little orange cheeks if you look really closely. So that's orange. And then we've got like this very yellow beard. And then everything else is lilac. Yeah, it probably is, yeah. You know, falling off my branch, stop me falling off my branch. So that is your very, very, very basic shape. So from here, that's where you can really start to perfect when we come to do the painting. So that is your underdrawing. So fingers crossed with the Inktense, it can wash away. Okay. So let's go with, I'm probably going to do bit by bit. We're going to work wet on dry paper. I recommend you do this when you're starting to learn watercolour, or any water medium for that matter. It makes it much easier to control, random noises, to control where your colour goes. So I might use the Inktense blocks just to block everything in, and then I can, oh it's the bunny, and then I can do detail a bit later on. So let's just block colour in for the moment. If I can find my medium brush, you'll do. I've got my 2 pots of watercolour. No, I've got 2 cups of water. One is called a clean cup, one is called a dirty cup. So you always use 1 cup to do your first clean. So when you've got paint on it, you dip into that 1 cup, swill it around, clean it, then put it into your clean water. And you do that system each time. Then that way you make sure you get a really clean brush when you pull it out. Otherwise you can actually pick up some of the tint. You may be tired. Yeah, I'm definitely grumpy when I'm tired. Okay, so I'm going to pretty much do him as he is. So I'm going to grab the green off the block, and I'm just going to put some basic blocking in. I'm not worrying about detail. I'm just getting in where the colour needs to be. And you'll see that orange starting to blend away. In fact, it's turned the green brown, which is fine. It's not a problem. It's actually got quite a lot of orange up the top there anyway. So that just blocks in real life Angry Bird, totally. Okay, he needs a, but they have names, don't they, in Angry Birds? I didn't get my kitchen roll, did I? Damn it, let me get my kitchen roll. Silly mare. Not very prepared, am I? I don't like to get don't get your brushes oversaturated. And when you're learning, also use synthetic brushes, because they hold less water. So you're less likely to flood your page. Okay, so the next colour I said was like that. It's quite a turquoise colour, and I don't know if that's turquoisey enough. Let me have a quick test. Oh, it is. Okay, so that's that turquoise in there. There's a little bit in there. So you'll see how intense the colours are. The yellow, let's go with the yellow. And I'm just going to fill the whole space with the yellow. Like so. this, it's almost like this bird was meant to be done with Inktense. So this block here, which is like a earthy tone, that can be used for that section on his wing. Much brighter than because of the orange underneath, but I don't actually mind that. So we need that vivid blue in here. Now a lilac is that the lilac? 0770. Oh, it is. Okay, so I'm going to base it then with this. It's like a pinky lilac, so it's actually probably more pink, so I might need to mix in a pan. Which, knowing me, I don't have one clean. That'll do. Yeah, that's quite pink. I'm going to need to just got a splash on it. Never mind, eh? I think that's going to have to do. I'm going to water it down so I don't. Okay, this is going to be really vivid. She says, and it's not. Okay, that's not a bad thing. It's because I've got quite a lot of water on it. So I'm going to mark that in. That comes all the way around and then it turns into orange. Here. And here. Okay, so we're starting to just get the basics of the colours in. No, honestly. Get that nicely filled. Right, so blue next, which I think on that bottom is going to be this greeny teal green 130, and I'm going to take it straight from the pencil. And that pretty much, oh my god, that's divine. That pretty much covers this whole area. God, that's such a nice colour. Probably a bit more on the greener side than I would like it, but I think we can work around that. Just going to see if adding a touch of further green. Okay, so that's our base coloured down. I'm going to go for more of a green under his tail, but I'll darken that as we work on it. I've got the heat gun plugged in. I did it on a TikTok live the other day and it's much quieter than the hairdryer, so I'll use that when it comes to it. Okay, so you'll see working on dry paper gives you much more control about where you want to put your colour. You want a nice dark blue, and I think there's one here, yeah, deep indigo. Use that for under here. So I'm going to get that in a minute just to dry the layer, and that's sort of tip number 55,000 of all the ones I can repeat, but generally you need to dry between your layers. You can't, unless you want the wet on wet, it's fine, but if you want to achieve something with a lot more detail, you really ideally need to wait and let it dry in between layers. So use a hairdryer or a heat gun, whatever you have accessible. Just putting a bit of texture in now while I've got some paint on the old brush. So let me get the heat gun. I shouldn't need to unplug the mic, but if it gets irritating, just let me know. It did worry me at first and I sort of kept it quite away, but actually it's not too bad. So if it's too noisy, let me know, but it should be okay. There you go, dry already. Nice. I might, just for the sake of it, tape it down so it doesn't blow away when I do the next bit of drying. You'll notice I've left the branch for the minute, I just want to work on the bird. Any questions so far? If you're watching this but you think it's a stupid question, no, stupid is no, my God. No question is a stupid question if you do not know the answer. So feel free to ask if you have any questions about the techniques or tools that I am using. So please do, don't be afraid to ask. So I'm going to work directly from the pencil now. I apologise, I probably should have sharpened them before I made a start. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Oh dear, I just gave myself a heart attack. Oh, I don't know if you legitimately saw me jump out of my skin then, but I did. Right. Oh, is that the same colour? It blooming is. There's more of the same colours than I thought there was, so I am going to grab it out of the pencil tin then. Sorry guys, I should have done this a bit beforehand. I think I've got most of the ones I wanted. I'll do the dark ones later because you're probably fed up with hearing that now. Okay, so I'm going to work through the blues and the greens, and we are going to work from our lights to our darks. So that's the next sort of bit of advice, is you always work from your lights to your darks with watercolours. It's much easier to go darker than it is to try and take it away, especially if you're working with Inktense. Inktense is a medium that once dry, it doesn't shift like a watercolour. It sticks, it's permanent. Oh no, I've got like a glass lid that I use for when I did white highlights with gouache. And it fell over, so it just like made this awful noise on my desk. If it was a spider, you'd know about it. So yes, think wisely about your choices you make. So always work on your lighter colours, work up to your darks, adding your shadows later. So we're just going to get our Inktense pencils, and we're almost going to draw like we're doing a drawing. You do not need to have any skill at this stage. All you're doing is drawing lines in different directions. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. We're just adding, as long as it goes in the direction. So follow the direction. So it literally goes sort of from the nose up and then around. Think of like a dandelion clock. Do with that. There we go. So we'll just fill that space. And then we've got like an orange at the front of his head. So we can put that in as well. You don't need to put tons down either, because we're going to use our brush to do a lot of the work for us. So if you have one, you want a fan brush. And mine's ruined. This is what happens when you let your 9-year-old use your paintbrushes. They end up like that. I might be able to use it. Let me see if I can rescue it at all. So you want a fan brush. Yeah, Inktense are an ink-based pencil. So ink are dye-based, whereas watercolour is pigment-based. So when they are, although I say that, I think Inktense are pigment-based. I don't think they are. I'm going to need to check that. So essentially with Inktense, once you've put a colour down and it's dried, you can't shift it around, not like watercolour. So if you had to get watercolour wet afterwards, it just goes everywhere, doesn't it? But Inktense doesn't do that. Oh, I might have rescued this. Oh, I don't know what she's done with it, but I think I've done the best I can. So a fan brush. Oh crap. So at the minute it looks all soft and fluffy, but when you dip it in water, it separates and it creates these little teeth, spikes, branches. I don't even know what you call them, but it creates this natural bristle, which is perfect for feathers and fur. So fan brush is really good, but you can use a brush that has a very fine tip on the end. That does just as good a job. So I'm going to show you both. So what I tend to do is when I'm cleaning my brush is I turn it in the water, and it just makes then, one, it squeezes the excess water out, and it makes a nice sharp point on the end of the brush. So I can then just work, in fact let me zoom you in. Colour's going to look a bit weird because it changes my darkness on the light. So I'm just, if I start this side, then my hand's not in the way, and you're just going to drag the colour that you've put down with your wet brush. And it slowly softens all your pencil lines and it creates this texture. So you can do this with watercolour pencils. If you're working with a pan, you would go back to your colour in the pan and just add it to your brush rather than it being on the paper already. Don't go into the orange yet, just stick with doing the top. You can come out and do the little sticky out feathers on top. Like so. I'm going to come in the other direction now. So that is using a pointy tip. So when I use a fan brush, in fact I might do it on a separate bit of paper, it might be easier to see. If I just put some colour on my brush, and then hopefully, there we go. So you'll see that when I then apply the paint, it has this automatic ability to create this natural fur and feather texture. So it takes a lot of work out. So that's what you can do with those brushes as well. So I'm going to zoom you out a touch. So I'm now going to go in and do the orange. I sometimes use the back of my hand to wipe any excess water off, and then I can just work around. These are great for acrylic, doing texture in acrylic. So you can already see he's got quite a lot of texture on the top of his head without actually having to do an awful lot of work. So with the yellow, when you work with watercolour and pencils, you need to work your darks into your light areas. Don't try and put your lights into your dark, because that's where you end up muddying your paint. So what I mean by that is, if I use the pencil, rather than trying to go away Bixby, why do you always do this? So pretend I want to put the yellow. I don't want to extend my yellow into the purple because it's just not going to work. You can't do that. So always extend your lighter area a bit further than what it actually is. So, you know, the shape is actually this shape, but I've come out further. So that way it gives me the option to then get my next colour and work from that colour up into the yellow. So I can create natural texture without having to ruin any of my yellow colour. I'm just pushing up into the lighter area. If you do have a go, if you're not in my group on Facebook but you're on Instagram or Twitter or somewhere, make sure you tag me. I'd love to see it. So can you see the natural fluffy texture he's already getting? Now I'm not being exact to the reference because he has quite chunky feathers in the yellow, but I am putting it in enough that I'm happy with it. So I'm now literally just going to very quickly do maybe 0.5 centimetre long strokes, just making sure they cross over each other, like so. Now because the blue is lighter than the purple, I would pull the purple down into the blue rather than try and bring the blue up into the purple. Rob, have you seen the tutorials up for July? I thought that one is very much your cup of tea. And he's got puffy feathers out of his chest, hasn't he? Yeah. I mean, this isn't as pink as I'd like it to be, but I'm working with the tools that I have, so it doesn't matter. I just realised you're still just looking at my light, so apologies about that. I haven't shared this anywhere. That's really naughty. Give me 2 seconds. I need to do my share outs. Erica, have you done it in the group, darling? You need to do it on my page, and I need to do it on my Twitter. Probably should have tagged Derwent in it, but never mind. Oh my God, I'm so half asleep today. Okay, so those of you that have followed me for a really long time know that I used to do graphic design, and I had a separate page for my graphic design. And when my tiger drawing went viral with George Takai, he tagged the wrong page, and my other page was getting all the attention, and that's not where I do my drawing. So in the end I thought, I'll screw it, and I just took it down and I've just shared it to an invisible page. I'm a silly billy. So have any of you used Inktense before? I think that's it. Okay, so I'm now going to use my solid brush, I think. No, actually, let's have a go with the fan brush. And I'll use the solid brush when it comes to doing around here, this yellow bit. Colour. You can just see how pardon the pun, that's why they're called Inktense, but you can see how intense the colours are. They're quite magical. If you turn your brush from that way to that way, so you use it sideways, you can actually get some really fine lines. The only reason I ever started playing with them is because W.H. Smith had a load on sale. I'm just going to use what's on my brush just to add a bit of depth underneath what will be his beak. Now we can start being a bit more chunkier with the paint coming in. Dabbled with the Scrawler box ones, but not had a time for a proper play. Love how vibrant they are and actually love yeah, definitely. She's just beat you to it there, Rob. I'm actually quite happy with this texture onto here. I quite like that. But that colour's beautiful, really beautiful. So let's get this blue going. Again, I'm just doing very rough. I am using the right blue, aren't I? Pretty sure I am. What I'll do is I'll work on his beak next, just so he doesn't look quite so mean and angry. I quite like how fat and fluffy he is compared to the reference. He's like a rainbow robin. Okay. I've always wanted to try the block, so I was really excited when the Scrawler box came round because, oh, that's too wet. I really like playing with stuff off a block. I think sometimes I have a bit more control over it. This is gorgeous, the colours are lovely. So again, hopefully you can see how working on dry and keeping your layers dry in between, although Evie won't have this trouble because she's doing it digitally. Make sure you share it, won't you, Evie? I want to see it. Yeah, you'd just look at that gorgeousness. It's gorgeous. So we want this dark blue, which is actually quite a solid colour in here and here. So I'm going to colour that in pretty solid. Just get that filled in. Don't push too hard when you use these pencils either, because otherwise you're going to struggle to actually release some of the texture, and you can still see the pencil lines, so just be aware of that. Just applying now all the shadow areas that I want to make a little bit darker, so you can do this with yours. And I'm going to pop a little bit of, needs to be a bit darker. I might use what's there. So I'm going to use my standard brush for this. Thank you. I do hope you have a go, guys, because it's just a nice little fun way of getting the hang of watercolour without having to buy loads of expensive equipment, because you can do this with any cheap watercolour pencils. Okay, so let's get the basis of that in. If you use a nice fine brush to start off with, you have much more control over where things go. So you're less likely to make mistakes with a smaller, more controlled brush. But also don't have it so small that it takes you forever to do something, because that will soon put you off. Too much water. See the intensity of that blue. So that gets that nice dark feather in. It still needs to be a bit darker on here, so I'm going to pull it off of the pencil. So just grab a wet brush and just roll up. Please don't flick. If you flick across like that, it will go all over your artwork, which isn't a problem if that's what you intend. But when you're keeping it clean for the minute, swipe up your pencil. Don't go down. You need a blooming bingo, don't you, for every time I say it? A bonita bingo. Let's drag some of the dark up into that lilac, and that will give you a bit of feather texture, and it blends that area in a little bit more. So it looks more like it's underneath those feathers. I want to show you that. I want to show you this close up actually. This is how fine I can go with this brush. This again was a Scrawler Box brush. It's called a Sea White number 6, but the point on it is insane. Oh, I can't even do it when I'm holding on to it, but you can get some really fine detail with just this number 6 brush. And that's incredible. So you can go fat or you can go really, really thin. Okay, so we're going to swap to the other blue that we used, which was the teal. And we're just going to fill in. You'll notice I'm not doing lines, I am just filling in. So just fill in the entire area. It can be a drinking game. We'd all be permanently drunk. And then I'm just going to brush over the whole lot, keeping in line the shapes of the feathers above it. So don't just scribble over the whole lot, you need to keep in mind those feather shapes. You'll notice I haven't got any down here yet, because I'm going to add those in when it's a bit drier. So I'm going to grab my heat gun just to dry off what we have done so far. Okay, heat gun noise. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do some really gentle stuff happening here, because we really don't want to be too heavy. And we're going to draw, let me zoom you in a touch. We are going to draw in some little, just ovals. It really doesn't, not ovals, semicircles. We're not, again, looking for perfection, so please don't spend hours doing this. Just draw very basic semicircles underneath, just to give you that shape underneath. And then what you can do is, he's got like a double layer, so here we've got a feather, so just draw that very basically in, and then here, and then he's got one here, that'll do. I'm not looking for perfection. And then we'll get, actually that's a big-ish one, he's got like 2 or 3 overlapping quite closely, so just sketch them in really basically, like so. Then you're going to want a fine brush again, and don't spread it everywhere. You just want to work on building up a little bit of shadow, just to add a bit of depth really. So just soften those darks out. Keep it really simple. There we go. So you should have something looking quite similar to this. I'm going to use the till just to bring some of that over. So when again we pull out, it just gives us a bit of texture. Just keep working on it until you are happy. I think there's another touch of dark there, so I'm going to grab that from my pencil again. Yeah, there is, just under here. How's yours coming along, Evie? Now I'm going to add a little bit of depth and shadow here where the branch meets the body. So I'm just going in with the dark blue again. Bit of shadow here, and oh god, snap the lead. That's because I made it wet. Like so. You cheap night out, Jennifer. And then again, we just, with our fine brush, use a number 2 brush if you have one, if you haven't got one like this. And then we've got a bit of added depth going on in there. We need to do it a little bit here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the brush. In fact, I'm going to use the purple, which I do know we don't have in the set, so I'm going to use the purple block, and I'm going to use this just to add some really fine purple into some of these areas, just to give us again a bit more shadow. Make him look a bit more 3D. We need to do quite a bit around the top of his face here too, actually. Oh, that orange and purple actually works really well. So he's really dark, like you cannot see anything, there's no detail in the photo here. So I might block that in and then we'll work it out when we come to it. Mr. Angry Bird. I think that's going to be his name, Angry Bird. Hi, Leslie. Sid the Angry Bird. Do you think Sid suits him, or does he need another name? So when you block out this little dark area, just look at your beak reference and you'll see that there's quite a shine down the middle. So all I've done is just edged where the beak is in the purple, just to give me a lighter bit of shading. So when I come to then add it later, if I make any mistakes, it's not a problem. So I'm then just going to come down the sides very lightly with the purple. And what you can do as a trick to get a little bit of a highlight out, if you want to, is a clean wet brush, and you just draw down the middle, and it takes some of the pigment away. And you need to do it with Inktense before it dries. So to add a bit more oomph, I'm going to go in with a bit of blue. I'm going to go in with the dark blue later as well, just to add the final detail. Okay, so a little bit. God, you do need more water, I find, when you work off the block. And then you just work really finely. Don't press hard on your brush, and then you get a much finer point on your brush. But you'll see what I mean about layering up. I've been gaming too long, I keep talking about leveling up now. But layering up, so letting each layer dry in between, and then you can just build up this intensity as you go. So again, that underlayer had dried, and now I've come over again with a second coat. You can see how much darker it's starting to become. So again, we're just picking out the absolute darkest shadows at the moment, and we just build up on those. Okay, so I'm going to use this purple. You can do the same if you want to, just to see if I can add a bit more depth to some of the shadow area. It might not work. I might need to go in again with a darker. I have got darker ones here. I just wanted to see. No, I don't mind that actually. Yeah, so the blocks tend to eat the water up quite rapidly. Let's get some nice fine detail on there again. I'm really happy with that. If you want to add highlights afterwards, you can. I'm going to show you a little trick on how you can do it at the end, so bear with us if you want to see how to do that. I think that's enough on his tummy. I think we've got enough texture going on there. What do you guys think? If anything, once it's dried a little bit, I'll probably need to go in with a bit of the dark blue. So let's put some yellow in for the eye. Let's just get that in. I might soften that one little bit of purple there. Okay, so straight off the pencil again, I'm just going to see about adding, oh yes, let me zoom you in a bit. So again, I'm just rolling it down. If you flick, you will end up, which I'm going to show you anyway, because I will end up doing it, because that's my thing. Any questions so far, guys? don't be shy if you're new to watching and you've got a question to ask me about this process so far. So you'll see this one actually dries not as dark as it comes off initially, so sometimes you need to remember that. Watercolour generally dries a bit lighter anyway. Oh no! Oh, how far away was that? Can they post them out? But we need a little bit of dark just under these chin feathers. So you'll know from yours whether you're happy with how it's looking so far. So now we're going to go in. I'm actually going to go in and use dark. It's as simple as that. That's what it's called. It's called dark. Oh, there you go. I flicked it. Never mind. And now we're going to go in and really darken these areas. Get his little angry bird in. We're just doing the basics now, just getting the shapes in. I might need to alter that shape. I love him, he looks so peed off, doesn't he? He's like, why are you staring at me? What are you looking at? What's so funny? Oh, it looks brilliant. Okay, so his eye actually needs darkening. It's orange more than it is yellow. So I need to let that dry before I then go on and do any other alterations. Now he's got a red evil devil eye. Dear Lord. Right, let's do that. Take that out. Let it dry. Let me get the heat going. Hey! They are gorgeous, aren't they? They are gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to put this in with pencil first rather than go straight in with paint. And that includes this dark, so I'm going to sharpen that. Yeah, totally. It's a roller bird, a lilac-breasted roller. I think it's roller bird. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to use pencil to get that in, I think. I might need to show you how I'm going to get the lights in a minute. And hopefully it's going to work. You'll soon find out. White pencil will do the trick, but I want to see if something else will do just as good a job. And I'm not sure I have one that's very sharp. We'll try it, shall we? Okay, that's bloody useless. That ain't gonna work, so it's gonna have to be pencil. Hi! bog. Dear. Okay, so I'm going to use wax pencil instead because pastel, apparently, I filled in the tooth a bit too much. So I'm hoping the pencil will work enough. It does seem to be, yeah. So I can sort of bring out certain highlights with the pencil if I need to. So if I want to then, I'll come to the blue body in a minute. I then just want to add a little bit of brightness. I can then just go in and add a few highlights. So like around here, for example, where it could do with being a bit lighter. We can just lighten that up a little bit. Hi Anne, thank you. It's actually a heat gun. I was nervous about using one originally, but I used it on a previous live and it worked really well, and it's less noisy than and it works quicker than a hairdryer actually. But it's just a craft heat gun. Okay, so you could do this with a pen as well if you want like real harsh highlights, but I like the softness. So if I want to go in and maybe brighten this feather up here on the back a little bit, maybe here, just make these a tiny bit brighter, you can. It's just a case of experimenting and having a play, but don't be afraid to. It's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with mixing your medias. I've missed his blue under here, haven't I? Deary me, he's missing his bottom blue. Okay, Leslie, I don't know what you've been drinking, my darling, but you can't blame the phone for your typos. Hi, Kaylee, thank you. Yeah, they're really good, the heat guns, actually. Okay, so his bum. I was working on his bum, wasn't I? So it's in here. So I'm just going to fill that space a little bit more. I think I can actually go darker. So I'm going to use my fan brush for this. So I can literally just sort of scoop down. And I think he does need to be darker under here. That's the wrong colour. I might very... no, let's use the indigo. I'm going to take it off the lead. So again, roll up, don't roll across. I'm going to darken under here a bit more. It needs to be a bit darker, I think. So when that's dried, I can then come in and add the detail. There's no point in me going over and over and over it while it's wet because it will just dissipate. So you need to wait for it to dry in between. Maybe ginger gin. That would have some heat, wouldn't it? Okay, I need to work on that eye because that eye is driving me crazy. So it's really dark. And I think I've made the eye a little bit... I know what I haven't done. That's why I haven't done the orange. So I'm just going to do some very basic lines in... God, they're very soft. Don't press too hard. I haven't done his orange feathers around the side of it. He's really looking demonic right now. I'm going to use my number 6 brush. They don't stick out very far, so don't come out too far out of the head. So what it is essentially is this isn't closed off enough. Ideally, I think that needs to come down a lot more. So if you drew yours out a bit better than I did, you won't have this error. You should be fine. And I'm also going to go in and add a bit more of the green in here too, and then a little bit more of the orange. So we're just tweaking now, so we're just putting little bits of colour in where we need it. You don't have to use water either, you can just use them as a straight pencil. Right, let's try it again. My art stuff is strewn. Do you know, mine was like that earlier. I did a 2-hour TikTok live feed and literally everything was everywhere. You couldn't see a surface without there being one of my, they wanted to have a look at my portfolios. So my portfolios were just all over the office, just strewn everywhere. But let's be fair, if you don't have a messy craft room, you're not having fun. You have to have a messy craft room. It's compulsory. I don't know why, but I have the urge to call him Jeff the Angry Bird. Are any names screaming out at you other than Jeff? Because if not, I'm going for Jeff. Jeff the Angry Bird. So you can now start adding or pulling from the colour if you want to add just a bit of dark here and there. Give it that little pop. I'm just using the very tip of my brush in here. Love it. I absolutely love it. It totally does look like Jeff. Jeff the Angry Bird. I love it. Look at him. He's gorgeous. So I'm going to do his feathers this side, and I'm just going to use the orange, which is Tangerine 0300. It isn't anywhere like the reference because this is a bright orange and he's got quite a muted browny orange. Oh no, hang on. I have got the Baked Earth, it's called, which is 1800. Hi, Emily. Roy the Roller, yeah. He's another. I need to find a quote to go with this one. I've got my, I'm not allowed to say the word because it's swearing. I've got my P off, I mean good morning, print, but I think this needs another one. I think I just needs another quote with this. I'm going to have to think about it. So where I'm colouring these, again, you can do the same if you're working with whatever tool. Just look at your darkest areas on the feathers. Don't go into your lights at this stage. So only pick out where they're darkest. So in my case, it's at the tips of the wings where they curve into the blue. So that's the only place I'm going to do it. And where it comes up, I'm just going to put a little sketch line. So again, I'm just going to do the tip and I'm just going to come up. I might have to go and shut the office door in a minute, otherwise my office is going to be full of mozzies. And then again on the tip, and then I'm just going to draw up a little bit, like so. That's probably dry enough. They do dry pretty quickly, in all fairness. So now I need to add the darkest details that are under here. In there, and then there. And there is some pretty dark under here. That blue's, oh, there's something not right with that blue I'm not happy with. So let me, let's see if I can maybe just draw in a couple of down feathers. That's better. So if yours look like mine, just get a white pencil and just draw a couple of lines up And that was my cat walking all over my Tom Hardy portrait because I couldn't put it back up on the wall earlier. I'm just going to do a little bit on the tip there. Yeah, that's definitely better. Right, I'm just going to go and shut the door. Is your sister in, Safi, or has she gone for a walkabout? Is she going to be meowing at me in a minute? Probably. Warning, I'm not listening. Right, it is like a what you're looking at. That's all right, Emily. Everything is listed in the description. There's a link in the description to the reference photo if you want an enlarged version, but we're just having fun with it. And I actually teach you at the beginning how to draw the bird from scratch, so just from using basic shapes. So it is a full-blown drawing and painting tutorial in that sense. So okay, so where I've then put those pencils, we're going to go and draw the colour up. So in the darkest areas, don't have your brush too wet and just draw up. And then that way we're keeping some space light if we need it, rather than having it too heavy. And that way you'll create natural highlights without having to do any extra work. So I think I'm quite happy with that. I think that's good enough for now. I add a little okay, let's go straight in and pull it off the pencil because it's not strong enough off the brush. So while the paper's still wet, I'm just going in and being a bit naughty and just making it a bit darker in some areas. You can do that, but don't press too hard, because unless you have good quality paper, you will end up scratching your paper. So just be warned. You can dip your pencils into water, but also be careful because you can actually split your wood eventually to your pencil. So rather than dip it in water, you're probably better off using a paintbrush, and then that way it will make your pencils last a bit longer. Or just dip the tip. Mine's out of the gutter, Rob. But he's looking really lovely. I'm really pleased with him, actually. I think, going to bring white gel pen in. I think. Oh, what have I missed? Right, hang on. I'm missing loads of stuff here. So let me come and quickly scroll over to the live. I've got no room for my mouse to manoeuvre. No coffee, no talkie. Or where the hell is Coffee Man when he needs to work? So I've been denied a coffee for the last however long we've been going, 1 hour 23 minutes. Tesco peach and lychee spritz on the go. Nice. Can you get a better photo? Oh, that's for that one. Yeah. How long have you been drawing? I've been arty my whole life, if I'm honest, and I was always colouring and things as a kid, and I always wanted to do crafty things and Play-Doh, and not Play-Doh, they didn't have Play-Doh in my day, plasticine. So I've always been creative and always loved drawing and colour. I've always had a passion for colour. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But doing this sort of stuff has only really started about 5 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago. So in reality, it hasn't been that long that I've been doing it like this. I used to doodle a lot on my desk and things like that, but yeah, I gave a shit once. Worse. 2 minutes of my life. Oh my god, that's perfection. Do you think that'll go really well with P off? I mean, good morning. Oh dear. I really enjoy your personality as well, of course. Oh, thank you. I got told today that my live on my TikTok was really unengaging. I should engage more with my audience. Well, I was drawing a real life portrait, so it's actually really hard to do. She is a lovely lady, Anne. Very helpful on all her platforms. Live the Facebook group? Do you mean love the Facebook group? Where everyone shares and helps each other. Oh, thank you. It's my little arty family, which is all you lot. If my mouth doesn't say it, my face sure as hell will. Perfect. Oh, you're never on your best behaviour, Rob. Never. Okay, so I'm going to blend out the dark that I put down here now. And I'm going to bring what's on my brush up under here. I think it needs a bit of depth under here. It doesn't really have it on the reference, but I want to add it, I think. He's got such punch with colour everywhere else. I think it needs it there because this lot of feather here seems to be getting lost. I think it needs to be a brighter blue. I'm going to go and let's work off the block on this one. I'm just going to bring that round and maybe give it a bit more of a feather shape so it looks a bit more individual. That's probably going to ruin it, but that'll do. And do you know what I'm going to do? Well, I've got the brush thingy on my hand, whatever the hell word I'm looking for. Let's get an Illustrator marker. Let's do it. Ready? Oh yeah. Look at the pigment. You can't see it because you're too far away, so let me zoom you in. Just look at it. Just look at it. I hated art until 1 year ago and I don't even know why. Something just changed. It's funny, isn't it? I think you change as people as well as you get older. I mean, to give you a very quick bit of backstory, some of you have heard this before, but when I did my GCSE art, in fact, I don't even think they're called GCSEs anymore. I'm doing it off camera now. I was told that I would fail and that my work was really bad and that I wouldn't. Well, she ripped my GCSE artwork up. She said, "Don't bother. You're not going to get anywhere." Anyway, I walked out with a B, so fingers up to you, young lady. And I don't know. You have to grow up and get a job, don't you? You know, you have to pay your way in the world. Just very quickly interrupting, what I'm doing is I've got colour on my brush. My brush is fairly wet, but don't do it too wet. The wetter the brush, the bigger the water splat. The smaller the brush, the finer the water spat. Not the smaller the brush, the drier the brush, the finer the water splat. So bear that in mind if you're going to do this effect. And what I like to do is from the edges of certain areas is bring it out as if he's disappearing into the ether, if that makes sense. So on this bit of the wing where the sketch was, I am going to just tap my brush out from the colour while it's wet, and it gives this sort of illusion of him, I don't know, disappearing out. Yeah, so my art teacher told me to give up, forget it, then you have to go and get a job. And I did loads of drawing when I was at home with just basic biro and things like that. If you saw my original drawings, you would... I'm trying to... I was trying to think if I had it easy to get to, and I don't think I do. I think it went up in the loft. But it's hilarious. All my old drawings. But as I say, even working in an office, I would just doodle while on the phone and things like that. And I was in one of the worst jobs ever for me. And at that point, my fibromyalgia had started and I was undiagnosed then. I was just exhausted all the time. My irritable bowel was really bad. Just loads of stuff. And I said to my husband, look, I am not happy. I've always wanted to do graphic design. Ever since I left school, I approached so many graphic designers and said, just let me be your coffee girl. I'll make you coffee if it means that I can get my foot in the door. And nobody was interested back then. You had to have qualifications back then. And then when I was 29, I said to hubby, I've had enough. If I don't do something I love, I'm going to go into a spiral. And he agreed, and I went off and studied graphic design at the age of 29. I then had my first child in the middle of my final major. And I walked out with a 2-1 on my final major. That was my BA. So I had an HND, and then I went on and did a BA and have had another child at the end of doing my BA. So do not let anything get in your way, because I tell you what, if you want to do something, don't let anybody tell you you can't do it, because unless you try, you don't know. You really don't. They are still GCSEs, but the grade... Oh, okay. So it's not CBAD, it's just numbers. Okay. I'll learn all about it, because my eldest starts secondary school this September. Oh, God. When did that happen? When did she get old? Okay, so I've got some green, and I've just taken a bit of colour. Again, on here, I'm going to see if the camera will pick this up. Because you know I said about if you're using watercolour pencils, don't flick. If you flick, I don't know if that's going to pick it up very well. This is what happens. Can you see that? You can see that. So that's what happens if you flick down your pencil rather than roll to take the colour off. So you really do need to flick, unless you want to do that intentionally. So you see my brush is wetter, so I've got larger splats. And I'm going to bring some colour off the top of his head. It's like he's got a headache. And then I think we're going to do some on his chest and then his tail, and then we need to work on that branch. His tail is quite dark, isn't it? But let's just... I'm pretty sure on the Inktense, you know when I do a clean brush and then I splash on top and it gives you that mottled effect? I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that on the Inktense, because once they're dry you can't really reactivate them. But give it a go if you want to. Get a clean brush, splash it on, and it gives you this beautiful sort of feathery texture. So this was done with the Inktense blocks. I tried to do it on this owl and it didn't work. And it dries almost like a powder. It's not like watercolour in the way that it dries. It's a strange one to describe. I always thought I was okay at drawing but couldn't paint. Only got into it as I got older. Now love all sorts of mediums, but I have learnt so much from watching Benita. Thank you. I have many reasons for not doing things in my younger years. I won't go into detail, but unfortunately now, considering my future, most people do that in their teens. There was a hell of a lot I didn't do. Hell of a lot. And I don't regret it, because if I didn't go down the path that I went down, and it was quite a hard path, to be perfectly honest. I'm like Jennifer, I'm not going to go into detail, but it wasn't an easy path. And if I hadn't have tread that path, I wouldn't have met my husband, I wouldn't have had my kids, I wouldn't be doing the business I have now. And my admin team know how frustrated I am with lack of, I don't know, income and things like that from the art. It's really hard to build an income from the art, because, you know, no, people ain't got money to throw around. They haven't got money. But I still keep going. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this. I want you guys to have a sensible guess. These aren't in the shops yet, apart from the range. The range is the only place that have them in the shop. How many do you think have sold in the first quarter? If you didn't know, this is my little kit, by the way, that's available on Crafter's Companion. The link is in the description. But I worked with Spectrum Noir to do this box, which is very specific. And there's tutorials on how to draw what's inside as well. Let's have some sensible guesses. How many do you think went in the first quarter of just this kit? And then I'll tell you. I'm going to take some blue off the block for underneath his tummy here. Oh, he's so cute. I might reduce that down slightly. Bring that down. That's a bit better. Would be great if you could try different things, Erica, before you decided. Fed up to the back. Yeah, you aren't happy at the minute, are you? So many people are told that they won't succeed, but then go on to achieve so much. Negativity often makes you stronger and determined. Absolutely. Some guy said to me once, you just expect everything to fall in your lap, and that peed me off so much. I was, no. I was really ill at the time as well. Severely ill, actually. And I couldn't work any longer in that job. People they're quick to criticise and quick to judge without knowing what's going on. And, we're all guilty of it. We can't deny that. But I have come to learn in my old age that I really don't care what people's opinions are of me anymore, because it's not my job to know what people think of me. So if they're going to tell me negative things, or that I'm not very good, or that I can't do something, I'm just going to prove them wrong. Oh, Brill, that's good. I'm very compelled. I want to hug him and slowly back away. He looks like that because you hugged him. That's what it is. He doesn't like hugs. Oh, that'd be amazing. That really would. Okay. So let's do the branch. Let's have a few more guesses of the total amount that managed to sell. With the branch, it's pretty dark brown, but we're going to cheat, to be honest. I'm using dark, and I'm just going to check the colour, because I don't think it's brown. I think, it is browny blue. I need a brown, really. That, I'm pretty sure, is black. Yep. So I'm going to use a bit of a mix. If you're working from a palette, you can do the same just with your palette. So in the absolute darkest areas, his branch is really long now. I've realised I've made his branch like ridiculously long, so I'm going to shrink it to here. That needs to come out at the same, so I'm going to bring that up. That's still in the wrong place. Doing well tonight. And then I'm going to sort of chop it here. So I'm very lightly just going to get some of that down, because it is pretty dark. And then this brown just on the end. And so I'm tilting it on its side, because that way you are less likely to create pencil lines that you then can't erase or wash out, I should say. So just tilt your pencil slightly. You'll see, if I can show you, wrong button. Can you see the wedge on the end of that pencil? That's how tilted it is. That's how tilted. Okay, so Jennifer was closest. 10,000 units. 10,000 units. In 1 quarter. Online only. Not even in stores. Yeah, don't hug that bird. He'll give you the eye. He'll give you the beady eye. Maybe a worm escaped and he's staring at the worm. Oh, I've got my eye on you. So those of you that have been learning colour pencil with me know all about the technique of tilting your pencil, and then that way you get much less in the way of scratchy detail. So I'm going to use my round brush again. And I'm just going to wet and blend I don't think on the bark it necessarily matters as much to get it all smooth, because actually the texture will lend itself to the subject. I'm just going to wet it. The shape of this knobbly bit is completely wrong, but I don't really care. I'm having fun with it, and that's the whole point of doing this tutorial. I wanted to show you that you can achieve something that is not realistic, but it still has depth. So I'm going to wait for that to dry. This end needs to be a bit darker. In fact, I can probably make that darker because it's already, that end is already dry. So I'm going to roll it down and then just go in and coat it a bit more. You can pick up a lot of pigment doing it this way. There we go. There. So just having the depth at this end and then the light at the other end, it gives you that natural 3D feel, because it looks like it's going into the distance, which your eye would naturally know that something in the distance is generally darker than something in the forefront, depending on where the light's hitting. He will, totally. So this is the print that I made with that owl. I apologise if you are offended by swear words, but I'm very caring, I promise. So this is the print I did with the angry owl, or what on earth, because I don't do mornings whatsoever. I hate mornings. So that was a print I made. If anybody's interested in these prints, by the way, I do have an Etsy store, which the link's in my description. And I can print these any size up to A3, so if you want a larger version, it's fine. But yeah, they're just, you know, you've got to have a bit of fun in your life, haven't you? So if I can think of a nice phrase like this that goes with him, I think they'd make quite a good little Angry Birds set. Okay, so now I'm going to just go in on this end and just add just some dots, just some random marks. Don't be precise. Just random marks. And that then looks more like the end of a, you know, like a broken branch. And then if you want to go even darker, I mean, I think that's dark I'm using. Is it dark or bark? It's actually called bark. Oh, diamond painting. I think people have got patience of saints when they do these diamond paintings. They do look amazing when they're done though. I also like the fact that families and friends think you can knock them up something that's perfect in minutes for free. Do you know, I have to say, the amount of requests I get on my TikTok live, will you draw my profile picture? Will you draw my pet? Will you draw this? Will you draw that? And I have to remember that sometimes ignorance is bliss, and maybe they just haven't been taught that it's not kind to ask an artist to do stuff for free. So So I don't really get stressed out with it, but you know, it can be rude. But yeah, it's just like they magically expect you to have all this time to do all this free work, and then get paid at the same time. You know, this pays to put food on my kids' table, food in my kids' mouth. And the way Emily eats, it's a lot of food. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the branch. I don't think it really needs much else. And I don't think he needs much in the way of any more splashing, but I do think his underbelly is not dark enough. So check on yours if you have been painting along and see if you're happy with how dark his underbelly is. But I just don't think there's enough difference between his underbelly and where his bottom feathers start. That's getting there. I do hope other people have a go at doing this. It is quite fun and quite therapeutic as well. Art is just such a way to zen out. Right, what I'm going to do is down the bottom, I think I've got the right colour. I'm just going to get the fine tip of my brush, and I said, were you here earlier when I said we need to have a Benita Go Darker bingo thing happening? For those of you that are watching that don't normally watch, those people that belong to my Patreon, I teach on my Patreon tutorial. Rob, did you answer actually? I missed your answer. Answer now when you can. Have you seen the new tutorial is up for July? I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it's right up your street. And I'm always moaning at people to go darker. So whenever I mention it, it's like almost like a lottery win. She said, go darker. Give me 5 on A4. Yeah. Pass me a stamp, I'll draw it on the back of one. Right, heat gun noise coming. Use the water that's there just to draw out. There we go. There we go. Okay, I am going to do it. I'm going to bring... Oh, poopsie. Where is it? Oh, no. I'm missing a pen and I don't want to use Jelly Roll. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. Brilliant. Yeah, I thought you'd probably like it. For those of you, again, that are watching, if you are... Okay, here's a sample of 2 tutorials that are coming up on my YouTube channel. So this is free on the YouTube channel. This is the new Luminance colour pencils. I'm going to show you how to do 8 skin tones, 8, 7, can't count, in the new Luminance colours. This, I'm going to pat myself on the back for, is 6 skin tones with the 12 pack of polychromos. Yes, you can do 6 skin tones with 12 polychromos. Not even that, actually. You don't even need that many. No, that's the other way round. 7 with the 12 polychromos. That's even better. And then 6 with the new Luminance. So 7 skin tones with the polychromos. And that is July's Patreon tutorial. My Patreon channel is $6 a month and you get a new tutorial every month, as well as access to the timeline and access to my group, my Facebook group, which is for Patreons only. where you can ask questions, I can critique, we can go through stuff, and you can put requests in for future tutorials. So just a bit of a plug there, you know, if you feel like having a bit of a draw along. You have access if you join. I think it's so many days, and then you have access to all of my previous tutorials, and there is over 1.5 years, 2 years worth on there. I'm just going to try and rub out what I can of the Inktense. I probably need a more, oh, what if I use a textured eraser? That might work a bit better. Let's have a go. That's a little bit better. I'm just trying to get rid of this so you can see what it's. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wet it. If I wet it, hopefully I can pick most of it up with a tissue. Yeah, it didn't need a lot, did it? I'm afraid that won't be happening with me, young lady. But you, oh God, you certainly know enough now to not need guidance from me when it comes to disgusting charcoal. Gross stuff. So I'm just washing away my old sketch lines. I drew mine heavier than you would draw yours, so you could see it down the camera. But what I'll do is when I come to edit in Photoshop, I can take all this out. So, and yeah, I need to think of a, we've had some good phrases come up. There's only one thing left to do, I think. Get your favourite signing pen and make sure to autograph it. And I think mine is going to go in here. Like so. And let's zoom you in while I do the last of the highlights. It doesn't need massive highlights really. I managed to get most of it in to begin with. This is a Uniball pen. Jelly Roll I find are pretty scratchy and don't lay down very well. The Uniball Signo is brilliant. So if you're looking at getting a white pen for highlights, can you read that? Pigment Ink UM153 White. Uniball Signo. If you're doing pencil, please don't do highlights with pens because it's not archival and it flakes off and it yellows after a while. It's not so bad on these types of things because you're working with a paper that will soak it up. So I like to dab my finger over so the highlights aren't quite so in your face and it just softens it. I learnt the hard way that they yellow, unfortunately, and they can yellow very quickly if you're not careful. Yeah, some really, really lovely people in our art family. So come and join the group on Facebook if you have Facebook. I have an Instagram account if you are more active on there. I have a TikTok account. Of course, I have this account, my Patreon, and well, everything's in the description. Not too heavy. There we go. So at this point, you can put in any highlights that you want. Don't go too wild. And as I say, if it gets too harsh, just dab your finger over the top and just soften them up. I'm going to put a few down here, not many. It's quite dark in there. And again, we're not looking for realism, we're just looking for depth in the feathers. I nearly said fur then. He's just so kooky. I think he's brilliant. I'm going to just extend some highlights under his chin. highlight on the eye area. Not much, don't even much of one, but we need it to just... He's so funny. Okay, did we decide on Jeff? I used to work with Jeff. He was one of the nicest people. So apologies for any Jeffs out there. It's like all the Karens, unfortunately, that are all being ripped apart at the minute. Crazy, all that over a name. So just tweak at this point and get it finalised how you want it all to look. But, you know, hopefully you've learned a few tips and tricks along the way of how to get it done. And, you know, certainly watch back if you want to have a go at the tutorial, and tag me on my social media. I'd love to see what you do. So there's absolutely no detail whatsoever in this other eye, but he does look proper evil. There we go, Jeff the Angry Bird. He's amazing. Sorry, just been to make my parrots their tea. Nothing wrong with that. I was conversation yesterday about how the universal colour for cheese and onion is green. Oh, it's ridiculous. Wrong way around. And we think it's because they weren't getting enough green sold. Oh, quite possibly. Right, I think he's done. I don't think he needs any more to him. I think he's fun. I think he's vibrant. He looks cross, which is brilliant. I love him. I think I'm going to have to put him in my Etsy for sale. Put the original up, I think. I really must get my arse in gear and put all my originals in my Etsy, because I just haven't got around to doing it. Because, you know, it's not like I've got 2 kids at home and running a business and trying to do lives and do commissions and everything else that you do in a day. So there you have it. Inktense tutorial. So the Inktense set I used was the one with the dolphin on the front. You can get these from Paper Story. Paperstory.com. Angela, she's absolutely lovely. She's a really lovely lady. It is. Jeff is most definitely his name. Jeff the Jilted J. He's not a J. So that they were the pens that I used, pencils, and then I used the Inktense blocks, which I got with the Scrawler box. And the Inktense blocks are what made him. So if you want to see how he was made, please head to my playlist for unboxing and you'll see it in there. I have got a new Scrawler box and a new upgrade coming. I'm going to try and get Amelie involved on those videos too, because she did quite enjoy it. If you have any questions that you maybe have felt too shy to ask, come and find me on my Instagram account. I am currently shadow banned, so although you won't see posts if you don't follow me, you can find me. I am still findable. Or come and join the Facebook group. Again, just search for Bonita Doodles. It's just my name's everywhere. Please subscribe if you haven't already and you're new to watching. I go live every Wednesday where possible. And yeah, hit the bell button to be notified. Otherwise you don't get notified of when I go live. But I go live every Wednesday and a minimum of 1 video is uploaded on a Friday. Loads of tutorials and bits and bobs. Come and join the art family. That's it from me, guys. So have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whichever it may be where you're watching. Love to you all. Stay safe and I shall see you in the next video. Bye.